Want to welcome Brian Weiss, a fellow golfaholic, to Back Nine Report. He might be the only person I know that loves to play golf more than me. He would play 36 every day if he could. Seriously, we have been on golf trips where I wanted to go back to the room, take a nap before dinner, and he made me play another nine. On top of all that, he's a travel expert, travels all around the globe to bring golf travel information to the everyday golfer who is looking for the best golf packages and experience through his website, golftrips.com. Brian, welcome to Back Nine Report.
Hey, thanks. I'm not sure what you're doing after this, but hopefully you can get together and play an additional emergency nine.
We're going to go out on the lake and play a little ice golf, maybe around the shanties.
It is very cold here in Wisconsin.
Yeah. Well, I'm in northern Michigan, so we're not better off. It looks like a little village out here on the lake across the street from the house. All the ice fisher guys that are out there getting away from their wives and drinking beer out there. It's a big party every day. Hey, Brian, we are really happy to have you with us today to learn a little bit more about the current state of golf travel. I know you've been traveling around a little bit. You've been doing some flying. So tell us a little bit about what you've seen, where you've been, and what's going on.
Sure. Well, first off, when the lockdowns or COVID hit initially and sports ended, I was actually in Las Vegas and got to see Vegas, the day the music died to some extent. And, it was kind of a scary moment, there. They weren't sure if air travel was going to happen. And certainly things went dark for the next, 2 to 3 months. Come end of summer, I started opening up and traveling a little bit, a lot of day travel trips or at least drive type, mini vacations or golf travel. So I got to, get to your neck of the woods in Boyne, Grand Rapids area, as well as, upper Michigan. As fall kind of came in, I ventured out and did some, flight travel. Part of that was we traveled to California and did Yosemite for my son's high school graduation trip or vacation. He had kind of a rough end to his senior year with no track season, and we decided to, travel out to Yosemite. Later in fall, I did travel to Pinehurst, North Carolina. Also to Jacksonville and Orlando. And then over the holidays, I was in Sedona, Arizona. So maybe to answer your question, I did take 3 airline travel trips, and Southwest, at least through the fall, guaranteed no middle seat. So there was some inherent social distancing that naturally happened. Over the holiday break in December, they were not guaranteeing that, but the flight was relatively sparse in traveling out and the way back.
Have you felt safe? Have you had any concerns, whether around the airport or around the resorts themselves?
Sure. Well, the Milwaukee airport, the garage structures and parking, it looks like a ghost town. I think they have everybody parking on 1.5 floors. So I guess from a capacity standpoint, they're probably at 25% if I had to hazard a guess on what, traffic was when walking through there. Most of the restaurants and side stands and things were closed. So from a safe standpoint, I guess, it wasn't shoulder to shoulder bumping into people like in maybe a normal holiday season or a travel fall golf season, where it was, jam-packed airports, jam-packed buses to get to your rental car lot or what have you. So from that standpoint, I also heard that the air filters on airplanes were changed out. I know when I travel pre-pandemic, every time I traveled, I always seemed like I had a little runny nose or a little something after, being on an airplane for several hours. This past 2 times that I traveled, it's probably the healthiest I felt afterwards. I'm not sure if that's because of the lack of flyers that were on the airplane, or if it was indeed about the improved air quality inside the plane.
You, in the travel you've been doing, like I went down to French Lick for a couple days, and they had stations all through the resort. You had to, every day you had to get a wristband that you had your temperature taken and you had kind of been checked. And then as you went through the resort, they would check that as you entered different areas of the hotel or the casino to make sure that you had been checked. Were you seeing that at other places?
Yeah. So speaking of casinos, in fall, I did return back to Las Vegas and did a Vegas Mesquite trip. Our temperatures were taken at numerous resorts and casinos. We primarily stayed at two places, both being casinos, and they did take our temperatures with some type of infrared camera. And yeah, so that has been, probably the most I was, observed from a, temperature standpoint. Certainly everywhere you go, masks are required, whether it's a casino or restaurant or, the hotel. So if, masks help prevent in the spread, I guess I felt safe from that standpoint. Most of the hotels and the pro shops, have limited options in terms of dining, whether they've closed tables down or spaced tables appropriately. Many of the hotel or resorts extracurricular activities were closed down, like the ice cream, small shop. They had takeout for food in some examples. Some in dining did happen at a few places that I traveled to, but once again, masks were required until you were eating, and there was social distancing in terms of the distance for tables.
We're planning on traveling to Florida here in a couple weeks, and we just found out that the place we were booked into was actually closed, and they didn't notify us or anything. We just happened to see it on the website, so we had to arrange to stay at a sister location. But we would have arrived and they would have been closed. They wouldn't have had anything for us if we would have called ahead. So I would advise people, if you're considering any travel, to call ahead at least 2 weeks in advance. Make sure that everything's open, you have dining capability, and that they're going to have a room for you, and then monitor that daily. Because I wouldn't be surprised maybe with some of the numbers that some other things may be closing down the road. What do you think?
Sure. Well, when I traveled over the holidays, so we were out in Sedona, and we did exactly what you recommended. We called the resort ahead of time to find out, was there anything that we needed to know before we got there? What was the check-in process? Were they allowing, guests, or how many guests into the hotel in the lobby area? They did, let us know that some of the food was, some of the restaurants were closed, but you could get takeout, and they made, recommendations for other hotels. As right now, my neighbors in Mexico, international travel, it seems if you are going to warm weather, whether it's the, Caribbean or Mexico, there seems to be more travel open there. I believe earlier this week, or the week before rather, the Prime Minister of the UK had closed travel, as well as, severe lockdowns throughout England, Scotland, and Ireland. So those who are, looking to travel abroad and, play in Europe, at least through the end of March or mid-March, things are closed. And when I talked to a golf packager, just about the state of the state there, they pretty much have written off the first half of, 2021. They're looking at, moving some of the packages in fall if things can improve, or the vaccine gets released, or infections, or the death toll, levels out or improves. I'm not sure what the Prime Minister or some of the, international leaders are looking at. And they said that it's getting pretty close where they may just scrap 2021 altogether and start looking for bookings into 2022.
Wow. So you mentioned earlier you did some driving trips, and that's pretty much all I did. I haven't been on an airplane now, really, I think since 2019, I think was the last time. And I'm not really anticipating getting on an airplane. I'm not sure, so driving trips have become a big thing, but you're in Wisconsin, we're in Michigan and Ohio. We can easily go to Georgia. We can easily go to the Carolinas. We can easily go to Florida, even Texas is not that bad, and there's great golf opportunities in all those locations, right? Louisiana as well, Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, having driven to spring break to Alabama Gulf Shores and the northern parts of Florida, you're within 20 some hours, which seems like a long time to drive, but I guess to get away from knee-deep snow and frigid frozen tundra, it's a pretty easy drive.
Brian, other than what we've talked about, do you have any other tips to leave our listeners with?
Yeah, I would say, certainly some people would think travel during this time is risky. Assess your risks. Your health conditions or your age or your level of risk. To be smart. If you need that break or you feel comfortable traveling or maybe a little hesitant on traveling, certainly you control your environment and your vehicle. I know this past summer when I talked to a lot of advertisers and golf resorts, they kind of pivoted and focused on a 5-hour drive time. So as if you're a golf trip leader and you're starting to look for that spring travel, or spring vacation, or maybe you're going to reschedule something, either look to push that trip into fall or push it into fall and try to find a travel destination that you can reach by car. I think that eliminates the airport, eliminates an airplane. You have a condition you feel very comfortable with, and that being your vehicle. Once again, I would always have, what are your food options for travel? Either bring food. I know a lot of resorts started making your own food or having grills. So maybe you bring in your own steaks and your own coolers full of, meat and beer and potato chips and nuts or whatever it might be. And, I think I'm excited about putting this pandemic in our rearview mirror so we can play a lot of golf in either 2021 or 2022.
Well, keep it in mind, we want to get you to Toledo for the North Heroes Golf Trail. We got to get you over for that. And that's a lot of fun. We'll enjoy that. We'll do a little cooking out or something. We'll do something for you. No
Sure.
problem. I won't let you starve. Hey, we've been talking with Brian Weis from golftrips.com. If you're looking to travel, you're looking for resorts, golf destinations, he's got them all at his website. He's got some good packages for you. If you've got any questions, get a hold of him. Brian Weis at golftrips.com. Brian, thanks again so much for coming and chatting with us today.
Hey, Fred, be safe, be warm, and we'll see you on the golf course.
Take care, man.